no worries.
I would have known. I'd have figured it out eventually.
All right, we're on. And I did it 5 minutes late anyway. So
we'll see how you are.
Goodness, what a ridiculous day.
It's been a day, that's for true.
Yep.
If we had to start this day over again, I would just stay in bed.
Yeah, probably too. Yeah.
Plus, I'm trying to recover from the flu. So, I'm still on the or I'm on the downhill from that. Downhill.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Yep. Anyhow, busy day at the shop.
Busy. It was busy. Ridiculously busy. I mean, like, couldn't catch my breath kind of busy.
That's a good thing, though, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. It's not a bad thing at all to happen. So,
fun stuff.
And just lots of guys working on big projects and good stuff happening right now. So I'm hearing the residential world is pretty darn slow out there.
That's what I'm hearing as well. I'm hearing that. A lot of guys that have complained that the residential stuff is just been really tough for probably the last maybe 4 to 6 months. It's been on a little bit of a downhill slide, mm-hmm. But I'm also hearing that the commercial side has been on more of an uphill deal. Yeah. So, and I'd rather do commercial than residential any day of the week, anyhow. But
Michael Tesoro, how are you, sir? Man,
I got to move my thing. I can't see all that.
I would always prefer the commercial stuff too. Henry, I'm going to be using some of your pictures tonight, even.
And not paying you a royalty.
Well, I took the picture, so. Henry's, a good friend in here in my local market, just got a real nice gig with 25 or so McDonald's. Awesome. And I think that's one of the things where guys are talking about commercial properties and doing these. And one of the things that I'm seeing right now is commercial places with money to spend still at the end of the year here. A couple of apartment complexes I've heard of. That are getting it clean. The stuff you don't really expect to get clean, but they've got money sitting in the budget to go out and get stuff done. So
I heard there's still some COVID money that's coming around for some reason. I don't know what I don't know what it is, and
right.
Hold me to that. But I heard something about some COVID money that you can still get, and so that might be part of it.
Okay, maybe so. I know that there was still some ways to earmark some of that old money laying around for, sanitizing and cleaning. And if you turned washing from, hey, Amerigo, what's happening? There was some ways to get, some of that money, government money, to be used for pressure washing. And I don't know. I'd still, look around.
I don't think it was specifically slated as pressure washing.
No, it was for sanitizing.
Exterior cleaning and sanitizing kind of a
thing. Correct. I mean, a year, 16 months ago, 18 months ago, I could have told you, exactly what it was.
What it was, yeah.
Same time goes on and I get forgetful. So, but we were talking about the fast food restaurants, and I thought that would be a nice one to talk about because quite frankly, a lot of people don't understand how to get them. They don't understand how to wash them. They don't understand what they're going to need, and they don't understand necessarily the financial ramifications behind those.
And they think that they have to run out and buy a very large hot water machine.
Yeah, they're true. Which is, it'll help. It'll certainly help, but
but you don't have to go buy one when you can rent one nowadays.
Yeah, that's true.
Just there have been a couple questions lately about hot water machines, and the thing is that if you're going to be doing a lot of like fast food restaurants and things, yeah, absolutely, I would buy a hot box. You don't have to buy another machine, as Tony Mead's saying. You can always just add a hot box to your to your current setup, depending on
Absolutely.
what you have, you know. But and at the same time, you can go out and you can go to, typically Home Depot even has them, but they'll have hot water machines that you can rent. The different rental companies have hot water machines that you can rent for those specific jobs just to
Yeah.
get them done.
Places like United Rentals, I
Mhm.
mean, they'll have
Sunbelt.
I was going to say RSC, but hell, they got bought out by United Rentals. But you know, any of the big rental companies, they'll typically have
Hertz is,
something,
I think it's Herc now. Hertz is, I think it's Herc.
um, stuff that you can run around on wheels. And I'm actually sitting here trying to find.
Well, they've got, I think it was United Rentals. We got one that was, I mean, it was a trailered, you know, deal.
Wow,
And yeah, put out some serious hot water, and you know, it was a good unit. So did everything we needed for it to do during the time that we needed it, and we didn't need it for, and we had a hot water machine, but we really didn't use it all that much because we weren't focusing on some of the fast food restaurants and some of the higher grease traffic areas, if you would, that gas stations. You know, we had certain gas stations that we would do, um, but it's not something that was necessarily our focus. So if
right.
we needed the hot water, when our hot water machine kind of pooped out, I'm just yawning like crazy. Then we just rented it. So
The you know, we wound up having four at our store and at Spray Wash, and you used to always let between the hood cleaning and the exterior stuff and the gas stations and all that. We used them a lot, and then you used to always joke about the. Besides, if you want to always have a hot water washer running, you probably should have two. Um,
mhm.
because you know they tend to be assy little things, and you know there's lots of little safeties on a hot water machine. There's lots of um, between the flow switch, between the pressure switch, the flow switch, the burst discs on there. There's all kind of different safeties on that thing because it frankly could become a steam bomb if you didn't do
Do
it
it. Yeah.
correctly on there.
Mhm.
It's one that you definitely want some extra parts for so you can service it. Um, yeah, definitely some stuff like that. Yeah, and I don't know why I am not able to find the stuff that I had pulled for this little discussion tonight, and danged if I can not find it um in my folder that I went and said I put it in.
We'll
So
see how you are.
kind of crazy looking for these pictures. But I'd say one of the first problems that so many people do is that they're not talking to the right person. They're literally not speaking to the right person whenever they go up to the fast food restaurant.
You mean the store manager is not the right person to talk to?
Correct. And or they'll assume the store manager, which might be the shift manager, and they
Mhm.
leave that card for the shift manager, who promptly they might stick it in the cash register, they might stick it in the general manager's office. Chances are they're not necessarily going to. And the absolutely.
The
Discount
Gators fan.
Gator fan. Y'all need all the help y'all can get. No, that was a great game. That was an absolutely amazing game this weekend. But so the person working the counter is probably not the person that's going to give you that job. The person that calls himself the manager is probably not going to give you the job. The general manager might do it, or a regional manager might do it, but chances are the person at the counter. Now, does that mean that you shouldn't speak to him? By all means, speak to him. By all means, talk to the people and see how they are, and see, what's, just talk to them. Best
Because
thing.
even the store manager can lead you to the end up getting the job, but it's also part of the experience that you need to gain in order to say, okay, this guy is really full of it, doesn't really know what's going on or how to get me whatever, to get
Right.
me in touch with the right person, or he's simply not the decision maker. But sometimes, even though they're not the decision maker, they are kind of a gatekeeper. They can help you
Exactly.
get through.
A gatekeeper is a very good word for it. And you know what a lot of people, you know, one of the absolute crazy things that people stop to you know not think about is that the most fast food restaurants are not owned by one person. Most fast food, or I'm sorry, not owned by one person. Most people who own fast food restaurants don't own one restaurant.
Right.
They're going to own multiple ones. They're going to get.
That's the same thing in most industries as well.
Yeah. Yep. And so, you know, well, where do I find the corporation? Where do I find, and this is where it might take you some research if the gatekeeper is doing their job and not getting you into there. And let me get over to the switchy screen thing here, present, and I'm gonna, it used to be really easy to find this. But they've kind of changed it some with the new remodels and restaurants. But you know, whenever you go over and either to the right or the left of the cashier, there was typically a little sign over there that would actually say this franchise is either one a corporate store or is owned and maintained by blank, you know. So you know, here's one at the Zaxby's on there that says Zaxby's that's close by us that actually says, you know, when it was established on there and what the owner's name is. If you go and you look a little bit more, you know, here's one, you know, that again, talking about the who's the ownership group of it. Demerchase Incorporated, store number 531. So what do you need to do now? If you don't know anybody in there, you're not getting anything, you need to go up and look up who's Demerchase. You need to go to your, you know,
and it's not that hard to do.
Department of Corporations, type in Demerchase. You're going to get their corporate office, or at least where they accept service at. You're going to get the names of the principals of that corporation. You're going to find out this information.
And that's typically, I mean, that is on most, I'm going to say, corporate owned type restaurants, fast food, and even some self-storage facilities, and, you know, you name it, gas stations, all those kinds of things. A lot of them will have that information right there, either on the door, or it will have it there somewhere that's accessible to the public, I guess is the best way to say that.
I was noticing that that McDonald's now was even which really kind of surprised me. And let me show you my, I said I had literally pulled all these pictures out and stuck them in a file, so now I'm having to go back to my
well, you want to know why you're looking for that. There's another place that a lot of times you can find who owns that particular fast food place. That's on the receipt. I don't know if in your area, but I know in our area, a lot of them, they'll have that it's a, you know, corporate owned store by whatever it is, right? I'm trying to think of the name of the local McDonald's here, but they have it printed on the receipts as to who is the corporate owner.
You know, here's the Burger King, the phone number to the general manager, you know, phone number to the store and the general manager right there on the front door now, which is relatively new, you know, scenario there. I haven't seen that happen a great deal in the past, but hey, you know, good for them for trying more outreach on there. And you know, it's kind of like, you know, we used to on hotels. And one of the interesting little things about hotels that, you know, I don't know how to find out who the ownership group of this hotel is. Go to the elevator. You go to the elevator because a lot of states will require, I don't know who that Facebook user is that says we teach this at our trainings. I don't know. that's a nice one. Um, anyway, the we go into the hotels and poke in there and look in the elevator if we can't figure it out, because like state of Florida typically will require you to post a sign that says this elevator has been inspected, and it'll have the elevator permit, which actually has the ownership's group name and contact information and address on there as well. So
What's funny, just as a side note here, sometimes you look up who owns the property,
yeah,
and it will say, like, as an example, you're trying to find out, it has spray wash on the exterior of the building, right? And then you go and you say, well, the spray wash is just leasing that building. And then you go and you look up the owner of that building, and it turns out to be a gentleman by the name of Ray Burke. Because a lot of times what big companies will do is they'll go ahead and they'll purchase the land under one corporate name, and then they'll lease it to their company. So
right.
Sometimes it's kind of a backdoor way. It doesn't happen all the time, but it is a backdoor way of trying to find out who owns that particular business or that building.
Here's McDonald's, same thing. I mean, actually even have an email address to McDonald's. And their phone number, that's like a toll-free number though. So I mean the information is out there, and it's just, you're also going to have to get out there and work the information and talk to them,
If you happen to know like a manager's name, like it's Ray Burke, right? And you can do even a Google search and do the Ray Burke, and then do the @ sign and then McDonald's, and do a search, do it in quotations, and sometimes that'll pop up and give you his physical email address if you can't find it.
And this is one of those things where you can literally grow old doing some of your, and you may not, people talk about contracts a lot. I know I'm in an area of the world, North Florida, where people aren't necessarily tossing out contracts left and right. But for, there's been some fast food groups that I've watched for over 10 years. Never had a contract.
Don't need one.
Multiple restaurants didn't need to have a contract on there. It was a handshake, and they were extremely loyal to me until after our company was sold, and somebody that's probably listening to this thing tonight went in there, did one of the manager's houses, and saw an opportunity to go in there and said, hey, the company that was doing this no longer the same company. And, they're like, well, hey, we'd love to get you to give a bid. And he's now, he not only did he pick up 2 of them, he picked up 2 more. So for a total of 4 restaurants, and he's, rock and roll out there. It's a nice little gig. So we talked about the heat. That's one thing. You do need heat. You don't need heat. Heat
most
really
time you're gonna need heat.
Heat would be a nice luxury to have on some of it, but you don't necessarily have to have it with like the Gold Assassin these days, and the better chemicals that are out there. The much more Michael, this is perfect for you. The much more
go rent a machine, right?
Yeah, you could go rent one, or you could also go and just, lay the Gold Assassin or the Ground Force down to it. I mean, the stuff is it's really amazing how well
it eats up the oils better than it used to. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you lay it down and oil starts. I mean, it gets slick to walk on as the oil gets emulsified.
But you also have to remember to give it some dwell time. I've heard a lot of guys, well, I used it, but I put it down, and then, I started, going at it, and it seemed to work better a little bit later. I'm like, yeah, that's the dwell time. You've got to, if you lay down whatever your degreaser is, and then you start pressure washing right away, you're not doing yourself any service. You got to let it eat into those oils.
I would also say that something a lot of people tend to forget about when they start getting into these commercial properties are, one, your payment scenario is going to be a lot different than with your residential payment. Like how Pat Clark always likes to tout the, no pay, no spray policy, he had with his company. You typically aren't going to get that with most of your commercial projects like this. And besides, whenever you finish up in the middle of the night,
there's nobody around to give you
There's
the
nobody around to pay you. I mean, they're just not there, you know. And if you're going to, typically speaking, it's not. And then typically speaking, with most commercial projects, you're going to be out there on a 30, 60, sometimes 90-day length before you get paid. So real important to sit there and think about.
And it's also something to think about when it's, you know, so I think this is something where a lot of guys have an issue with asking about payments and asking about getting payments and all that kind of thing. And if you're one of those people that have trouble asking about payments, understand that they know they got to pay. And so that should be part of your conversation, or it should be on your paperwork that you're a, you know, 15-day or 5-day or 30-day, you know, have that discussion with them up front. You know, some of them will offer a, you know, if you give them a discount, they'll give you a quicker, you know, payment. Or, you know, if they're 45 days, hey, tag a little bit onto it. Don't be shy to do something like that. I know we've done that in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, and I think of the thing, everybody should have what your state will allow on your invoices, of invoices at more than 30 days will be charged. You know, we always had a 1.5% interest. That was what we were allowed to do by law. So you can charge interest on those. Now, if you do or you don't, you know, that's going to be up to you right there. So, yeah. So hold on. So Michael was asking, he had a question mark. I don't know, maybe he didn't hear what we were saying about that. But so, you know, one, with the good chemicals that are out there, you don't need the hot water as much. I mean, with the Gold Assassin, it really will rip through the stuff really well. The Ground Force is another one that I find to be absolutely amazing and a very, very good product out there. So you don't have to have the hot water. The hot water helps. Now I see Jacob is here, and Jacob works in
And he
Hog
uses hot
Knuckle,
water.
Iowa. He needs hot water. I mean, you know, his stuff is so cold, the ground is cold. They're out there in freezing temperatures doing it. Hot water helps them a lot. I mean, yep. Jim Bob, yeah, got to have some money in the bank if you do a lot of commercial. We are just at 30,000 owed, now down to 10, but starting to climb again. Yeah,
yeah. When you get to that 60,000 and that is owed to you, and it's climbing from there,
yeah.
It can get kind of frustrating. And he's right. You got to have some money in the bank to back yourself up and be able to carry your payroll and buy your chemicals, be able to you know, keep in good with your suppliers, all that, because you know they want their payments up front, or you know, very quickly.
Roof wash, shouldn't we be rinsing? 50-50 opinions. Doug, take that 1 sec. Let me grab something.
Yes, we should be rinsing. So let's go back to the whole ARMA thing. Yeah. Okay. Let me back up here. 50-50 in opinions. Yes. I think you're right at about 50% of the people are going to say rinse. 50% say we don't rinse. We always go back to the whole thing where ARMA says rinse, the Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association, the roofing manufacturers say rinse. So the question that you really run into is what is a rinse? Okay. So is a rinse where you just put a little bit of water up there, let it run off, or is it a good, thorough, hard rinse? And how do you rinse? Because you rinse bottom to top. You don't rinse top to bottom. So yeah, there's a lot of still questions out there, but at the end of the day, I think you should be rinsing, period. That's just,
if you look at what the manufacturers say, they say to rinse, you know, and God forbid you ever have something happen and you know, and it starts degranulizing immediately, something like that. Yeah, you're toast at that point. You know, good luck. Just stroke your insurance deductible check.
I can actually outsell the guy that doesn't rinse as well if I get the opportunity to speak with the homeowner, because very simply I can use that as one of my tools, right, in my arsenal, to say, hey, the manufacturer says rinse, and so that's part of the point. And
one of the things, you know, as we like to point out in the plant and property class, you know, we actually go through the ARMA down, and it says rinse, the ARMA being the Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association. It says to rinse. It also says subsequent rains will help.
And they will.
Roof.
You're not going to get it all off in a rinse.
So it, I guess there's different levels of rinsing, because if you rinsed perfectly, subsequent rains wouldn't bother whatsoever.
Not only that, and we're getting off topic, but not only that, but not just one rain. Yeah. You need it to dry up, become brittle, and then let the rain pick away at it again. Yep. So it will. I used to say, it has to rain twice, and then that's your finished product. And if it rains for 3 days, that's one rain. It's got to rain, dry up, and then rain again. That's 2 rains.
So Michael was asking about ground force. What I like about ground force is, I believe that Andrew was one of the innovators in doing this, but all of the Agent Clean chemicals, and this is an Agent Clean chemical, the Agent, well, not all of them, but Agent Halt, Agent Green, and Ground Force, you can all get as concentrates. This is 5 gallons, and this 5 gallons is a 6 by 6 by 12 box that is about 6 pounds in weight right there. So
and how many gallons does that make?
That makes 5 gallons. This is a 5-gallon kit. So would you rather pay shipping on 45 pounds, or would you rather pay shipping on 6 pounds?
I thought that made like 50 gallons.
No, they make the 50-gallon kits, but that's like 2. That's 3 buckets that would weigh. But yeah, that's the 5-gallon kit right there.
Gotcha.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking that right off.
Yeah, but yeah, and then Gold Assassin. I think that, and Gold Assassin comes in a 50-gallon kit as well. Be about 40 pounds, 50 pounds of shipping for a no. I'm sorry, about 60, 70 pounds of shipping for a Gold Assassin kit on there. But again, your 55 gallons of it would be 550 gallons you're going to have to palletize for another $350 or so. So still a lot cheaper with these chemical concentrates here. So, a good degreaser is going to really make your life, a huge difference on there. Do I think restaurant cleanings can only be done at night? Yeah, not 100%. I used to do Zaxby's in the mornings a great deal, but they weren't a breakfast restaurant either.
So we'd have to define what night is, because to me, morning is still the night. I mean,
right.
It's anything before, like, say 6 a.m. So to me,
right.
Yeah, it's a after 10 before 6 a.m. type of a cleaning most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you do it during the middle of the day? Yeah, I have seen them. I've seen guys out pressure. I still got pictures on my phone of guys pressure washing gas stations in the middle of the day, and they got debris going on people's cars, and then you got people doing a McDonald's and they've got the drive-through lane during lunch, and they're actually doing the drive-through lane during lunch, and it's like, how in the world do they even have a job there? I mean, there's no way that shouldn't happen. So for me, that should also be a selling point that you have, that we will do these at night to minimize anything with your patrons.
Correct.
You don't want to,
and then also for the safety of the public, and mainly for the safety of you and your guys, I just wouldn't risk it. People are just dodos anymore. There's just too many people that are self-entitled, crazy nut jobs out there. And I damn sure wouldn't go out there and risk it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I just wouldn't.
Yeah. And I know there's lots of guys that do. I mean, and that's on you. You do.
Here's a great one. So I had Jason said he's got a Chick-fil-A on Sunday. And they're fantastic about, keeping them clean.
They're closed on Sunday,
and people will still come in there and order at a drive-thru. And how many people at this point in their lives do not realize Chick-fil-A is not freaking open on a Sunday?
And then they're sitting there, and the drive-through lane is all backed up because there's people trying to order. Well, why aren't they taking my order? Because they're not open.
And you've got cones out. You've got, it's, Bank drive-through, same way. I mean, we would go and park our trucks in a manner to where, you literally couldn't even get into the lanes, and you'd still find some guy that would run over your cones and get in there. I could not imagine trying to do an active drive-through while the restaurant's open.
I was out playing poker last week, and it's in a casino, and it was, I kid you not, funnier than hell for me. I'm walking past a bathroom, and actually it wasn't at the casino. It was at the airport. Sorry. But I'm walking past the bathroom, and they've got the cart in front of the woman's bathroom. And then they've got the caution cones, and they had tape. Mm-hmm. Two ladies. I watched two ladies duck and dive and around and go into the bathroom. It's like there's 30 bathrooms in the middle of this airport. They're going to go around your stuff. It's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony, gas station the same way. If the lights are on, they pull up 100%,
Gas stations are a little bit better though. I mean, especially at night, you don't have to go as late. I feel like most of the time, if you know what their schedule kind of is, because gas stations typically have many different lanes. And so you can close off half of it,
right?
Allow them to still operate in the other half. Then when you get done there, move everything over, and you can do it that way, and it makes it a lot easier. And if you're not doing that, I think you should.
Yeah. Some of the thing, I was going to nail a couple of let me go through a couple of pictures here, Doug, on here, because I know a lot of my thoughts on here were just on pictures. Something else that you may want to really consider with, and we're talking we're talking stuff that has, this kind of stuff on the that's some thick grease on there. One of the other things that I noticed about drive-throughs is, remember, whenever you're dealing with a drive-through as well, you've got multiple services that you can offer those people on that drive-through. It's not just about the concrete and the entranceways. You're actually dealing with the building itself. Typically, that's going to be a once or a twice a year thing. If you want the windows, if you're in there doing their pressure washing, the windows are there for your taking. I mean, you've got them if you want them.
Once you got your foot in the door, it really is your foot that's in the door, and it's hard for somebody else to get their foot in there. Most commercial clients aren't going out looking for somebody to replace you. They're just not.
Yep.
It is your job to lose once you have them.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is. And you can do, but something else that's I think real important to talk about, the curbs. A lot of times they'll want the curbs around the interior perimeter done, and then maybe once a year you do the exterior perimeter curbs out there, which can be done.
And keep in mind with all these guys, when your property managers, doesn't matter what type of property it is, you should set out, and I know Ray and I say it all the time, but you should set out to do the best possible job that you can every single time, so that there is, Ray and I both are the type that didn't really work with contracts. And for me, I was always the one that would say, look, my reason for not caring about the contract side of it is very simply that if I'm not doing a good enough job, you should feel free to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to show you that my company is worth it, and that you don't need to go anywhere else. And then make sure that you're constantly keeping up with them, following up with them, doing the best job that you can, alerting them of issues and problems, and just doing a great job for them every single time. They've got no reason to go anywhere else, and they'll pay you more for it.
Got my old McDonald's out here that I used to do. So that's a walk down memory lane. And no, Doug, you're absolutely 100% right. But also rust stains, I think, are a real big one to talk about. When we deal with other stains that we might be dealing with, there's typically a lot of rust stains around the dumpster corrals coming out. Especially if they've had some guy that's been tossing out a whole lot of bleach on these things. And then now you've got a rust stain to deal with, and you can make them real happy whenever you take care of that rust issue.
And
Uh,
that's up to you as to whether or not you charge them for that. But if you're going to, you charge, you let them know ahead of time that you're either doing that service at no charge, or that there is a charge, or even if you're not, that you're letting them know that there is generally rust present after you clean,
right.
the thing. And then typically they'll say, oh yeah, well, the last time we had it clean, there was a lot of rust, there underneath all the filth.
Somehow I just went totally back there, and oh, here we go.
I like this too. Jason is saying Duncan wanted window cleaning for 15 spots, no problem. Was shocked at the price. And then Jason is sorry, we have a minimum per job. It's to protect my business, not to inflate my ego. Absolutely. There. You know what? Sometimes on these fast food restaurants and all that, they do want to do it for a lower price. And you can do it for a lower price because of the number that you're going to get out of them. So you get to run around and do, 10 of them in a night, even though you're not necessarily making as much as you might on a single location someplace else. You are doing it on the volume. And then the initial cleaning is usually much harder than the follow-up cleanings after that. And so if you're put on a, weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever, kind of depends, because if you get to like a yearly thing or every 6 months, I say you got to keep your price higher for those. But if it's going to be, especially like every 2 weeks or every month, it's really not that bad when you come back to it that next month. So it's very quick. So the first time might take you 4 hours. The second time might take you 45 minutes.
Right.
And it's the same pay scale on that.
It's a lot easier to keep it clean than it is to clean it every time. And that's one of the reasons that I would always go with monthlies if you can.
Yep.
If you go to quarterlies, okay, it'll be a little bit better. If you go past quarterly, it's going to be like you never even showed up there.
And that's one of those ones where I would want something in writing. If I'm gonna give you that deal on the very first cleaning, I need to make sure that I'm going to get those other cleanings in the end.
But any of these ones that we did wound up going into like whole building cleaning. Some of them resulted in window cleanings out there, but typically a whole building cleaning either once or twice a year. This place had fabric awnings that we wound up getting to clean a great deal on there. That wound up being about quarterly on it. I wanted to show on this picture. It's kind of real interesting, but if you look at where the drive-throughs, of course, get dirty. And so here we have a progression on this drive-through of there, soaked, and now cleaned, okay? And I'm going to go back here with the pointer and see if you can kind of tell this. But even though you're going to clean the whole drive-through lane there, it's areas like right here, you can see my pointer, my mouse circling, right there at that window is going to be a bad spot. Then this area right here, one car length behind, and then where the next car is in line, that's a bad spot. And look at the oil spot here, then the oil spot here. Right in front of where the microphone is as well. That's going to be a very, very bad spot on there because that's where the cars naturally stop on there. You'll actually have a lot more chewing gum up in this area right here than you will anywhere else on the whole property, I've noticed, because it seems like a natural thing to stop, spit your chewing gum right here. Yep, and get ready to go eat, Yeah,
anywhere from right in front of the window to just beyond the window is usually where all the gum is at.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, while we're on that subject, don't forget, when you send your invoices out to them, make sure that you have your signature is in there, and it doesn't just say spray wash, right?
Yep.
Have a list of your services. Don't get real carried away, but have a list of your services, or right before your signature. Please don't forget that we also offer window cleaning. Don't hit them with maybe everything if you're going to do that, but every other month or whenever you're doing, let them know of the other services, and then below your signature have more your list of services, because there's nothing more frustrating than going to do a job to find out that they had somebody else do the windows, or they had somebody else wash the building because they didn't know you offered that service.
Yep. Well, and speaking of doing following up on there, what I'm showing you now, we would always do, and this made sure this went to someone there, on site, a manager or above, to where they understood that we were there. I mean, obviously you could tell we were there, but I also want the higher ups to know that we were there. I don't want a question of somebody going, well, what the hell is this, $375 check we're stroking out every month here? What's this for? This is a McDonald's restaurant. Here's, the before on there, right at the drive-through window. Another view looking down that way, trying to show the broken concrete as well, how much work was done at it, that we did the curbs over there where we were asked to, just, how much it was cleaned up on there. So you've now also got, here we are in the drive-through. We've also got a proof and a record that we're actually doing this. And that's just real important.
So I don't know who this is. Facebook user says use bleach to clean that drive-through, right? Now that was I'm going to assume that you used a degreaser on that drive-through, not just bleach, not a bleach mix. Bleach doesn't really work on things like greases and oils and all that. Now, if you're talking soda pop and vomit, I mean the bleach will take care of it.
And I would say that on a lot of these, so typically speaking, what we would wind up doing, that's bleach. That needs some bleach.
That needs
right
bleach,
there.
right.
Now this, you might.
I think that's the one he was referring to.
Yeah,
is that
but
one?
I mean, right in here, no, this is not very much bleach at all. Now, one of the worst areas you'll ever find on the drive-through is right here, and you'll actually have a lot of deteriorated concrete in this area. And Stephen, you're going to have a lot of deteriorated concrete in here. And that's from the acids from the Coke and soft drinks being spilled out. And it will literally eat concrete away on there. That's an area where we'll actually go and do a little post-treatment, maybe a 10% post-treat on these drive-throughs. After that dwells and we're doing our walk around, and that's helping to get rid of any leftover residual biological staining on there. We'll then go and rinse that out into the parking lot. We won't necessarily leave a 10% on there, but if we do, it's going to be very diluted. And that's a 10% dilution, not a straight 10% that we're putting out on
there. Yeah, Stephen, I'm actually glad you did that because it is a question that some people would think of.
Yeah. I mean, it will help some of the stains, but I mean, God knows there's all kind of people that they think, bleach is the answer. And, we know that it's just not the answer really.
It's not always the answer.
No, I mean, it's
well, it's the same thing as we were saying in the beginning. Hot water is not always the answer. And, degreasers aren't always the answer. You have to, everything has to be approached for what it is and not what what you're just comfortable with using.
There's some extra things that you can do right here. You want to do the little nice things on there. Wash off their mats for them. Wash off their doormats. Most every one of these places are going to have doormats.
And then you'll infuriate the company that does that, but
you will. But you know what? I hate having a dirty mat go into where going back over my clean concrete. Here's a good one, and I have probably destroyed more surface cleaners at night doing things like this than you'd be shocked at how many of them. But whenever you're out here washing and you see these little iron stobs with bolts coming out of them,
those bolts will kill you every time.
Oh, it will destroy a surface cleaner. You really have got to be careful about that. You will hit a tip, and whenever you hit that tip going around at like 6,000 RPMs, the tip is what's going to come out.
Oh yeah. I hate that sound too. It's like you're like, oh man.
Oh, you know exactly what's happened.
You know exactly what you did.
Exactly what's happened on there.
And I prefer it to be a tip most of the time. But even then, if it
oh, you hope it's a tip and not a swivel. Yeah. your scope of work is very, very important on there. Are you popping gum? What's going on? This is one that was cleaned without hot water, I believe. But they're also, you want to another reason you're wanting to do the pictures is notice these tiles. Now, these are the original tiles probably on that McDonald's from the 1970s, I would say. They're
And they
worn.
look dirty.
They look dirty. They are dirty, but you can see here where this has been the cleaned part on there. But if you were just to walk up on that thing in the next morning and go, that still looks dirty. But whenever you have a reference picture of what it was before, it doesn't look as dirty. All of a sudden you realize that okay, they were here,
It's kind of like multicolored clay tiles on a roof, right?
Yeah.
You get those ones that have the black spots on them, and you hit them with chemical 500 times, and before you realize, no, that's the color of the tile. And so taking those pictures to show that before and after is super, super important.
The dumpsters are probably going to be kind of gross. Something else you need to plan on with the dumpsters is what happens if nobody's moved anything? What happens if there's a bunch of detritus and stuff and junk sitting in the dumpster area? Are you going to move that? Or are you going to I mean, I've been to some of them that have just had, boxes and boxes stacked and bags of trash. The employees, tossed over the dumpster and went behind it. And then the waste management came, picked it up, and then crushed the bag, and it made a royal mess. This is something where you need to probably check these things out, or at least have a contingency plan, because that's something that could take you an extra half an hour on these things.
We had one where it had a 55-gallon drum, and that 55-gallon drum was like for their greases and oils and stuff, right? And they had a cap on it. And so we go to move the thing, and I mean, they, of course, after the fact, they're telling us, well, you shouldn't have moved it. We didn't want you to move it. We knew that it was a problem because it was all rusted out. Yep. It was fine as long as it stayed in its spot. But as soon as we moved it, man, it was leaking all over the place on us.
Here's a great example. This is right underneath the drive-through window right here. So look how this your concrete's along in this area, right? This is right under the drive-through window. The acids and the foods have just eaten away, and you can see that aggregate that's in the concrete just eaten away over the years there. It's absolutely amazing what soft drinks can do to things.
Yeah. Imagine what they're doing to your gut. So Stephen is asking, with the chemical, we already talked about this, Stephen, we'll hit it on again, but with the chemicals in the market today, do you all think the hot water is a necessity for restaurants and gas stations as much as they push and immediately go to that question when marketing to them? Yes, the two combined will make it easier, but I can get stuff just as clean with chemicals that are out nowadays as someone with just straight hot water. What are your thoughts? So I think you should have a combination of both hot water and the chemicals, right? If you don't have access to hot water, then the chemicals are doing a really good job and they're getting better. And just like we were talking about earlier, they can almost do as good of a job sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes as hot water. And then sometimes if you're doing hot water, you don't necessarily need the chemicals ahead of time. But truthfully, the both of them together, it's the best combination on things like greases and oils.
And then I think it also becomes a speed issue as well, too. I mean, I can work faster. And if you're trying to knock out 3 of those in a night, yeah, I think there are 3 gas stations in a night. Yeah, the heat's going to help. The heat will definitely help. But you're right. I mean, you can get it just as clean without the heat on there. You're just going to go a little bit slower on it.
That's something that happened one time. That this was on a residential job. It wasn't a commercial job, but the same still kind of applies. And that is we went out, we did the driveway. It was part of the job. And then the customer, called to complain basically. And he said, I went out there with my little Ryobi pressure washer and I was able to get the concrete cleaner than what you guys did. And keep this in mind, because this is all part of the process of getting things clean. And what he was mistaking for clean was actually damage, right? So because he's using the red tip or the 15-degree tip, right there, getting really, really close. Yes, you can get it a little bit cleaner, but you're defacing the concrete. I'm bringing that up mainly because it's just one of those thoughts that's popping into my head where sometimes you're going to get that where, like we were talking about the different colors in the concrete and the different colors of those tiles and where the before and the afters come in. We had a deal where we were doing over 1 million square feet of concrete, and we were cleaning sections, and we cleaned a section, we sent the pictures, and then they called and said, did you clean that area because there's still black spots? Okay, that's just the way the pores of the concrete were. There were different colored variations in the concrete.
Right.
So these are all things that you got to keep in mind and remember as you're going through doing these jobs.
And you know what Carlos is saying right here, and I don't disagree whatsoever. I mean, I think that if you're doing stations on a serious level, then yeah, you need the hot water. If you're trying to turn and burn and get done in a timely, effective, efficient manner, yeah, you need heat, and yeah, to pop gum, we really haven't even addressed the gum popping. We said earlier, you need to decide, you need to make sure, is that a part of the scope or not? But yeah.
So Carlos, I'm going to try to figure out how to change your midget. I'm going to change Carlos's midgeted.
But, we would usually, and I tell you, on sometimes whenever we were doing stuff like here, this is a great one right here. You're going to get into this whenever you get into, and this is what you were talking about, Doug. It's a perfect example of it. But so you've got, you could use some heat and some serious chemical right here, because you've got a leaking waste oil drum right there. That could be a nightmare for you. So heat's definitely going to help you some there.
Yeah, and we hadn't talked about the gum. I'm glad Carlos brought that up because, well, we kind of touched on it, but you definitely have to address whether or not that is going to be included in your scope of work, because the amount of gum that's there, that could take you another hour or 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how much gum there is per square inch. I mean, sometimes there's a lot of gum, and you have to keep track of that if you're doing it quarterly. If there's, typically there's not a whole bunch of gum if you've done it, last quarter, but there's still going to be gum. But you might just get into an area where they just do a lot of it. It still should come up fairly easy. But heat is virtually the only way you're getting rid of that gum.
Let's talk about pricing one more time. That cracks me up. The midget over midgeter.
All right, now I'm confused on that one. Mind over matter. Okay,
right. Oh man, charging for a piece of gum. I don't know. I don't ever feel like counting the gum, so I'm not going to charge people for the per piece. I mean, it just kind of goes into the overall look-see of the place.
Yeah, some people I've heard charge per square foot on gum. I mean, how do you really do that? Because for me, when you look at a gum, I'm going to throw Dillard's out as an example. So the walkways all the way around Dillard's, there wasn't very much gum. So you could price those differently. So saying the
right in front of a Dillard's
square foot, but the inner area where everybody's walking in and out, where it's just packed, then you also have to look at the surface, right? Because if it's concrete, that's okay. But if it's like pavers, and you have to be, you can't get as aggressive with your pressure, even though you're using heat, you need that little bit of pressure to pop them things off. And on pavers, you can end up doing damage to the pavers as well. So all of those areas, you to me, require a different pricing strategy. And per square foot is how I would do it. Or per job. I'm not a big per job kind of guy, but I would price it that way if that's what they wanted. But if I'm doing square footage, again, I'm separating those areas.
Man, I was just sitting here thinking you reminded me of Dillard's, and oh man, what a blanking nightmare the Dillards was up there with all the gum. I hope that was a long time ago. I hope I still have those photographs of that. That was just
For us,
woo!
we had a nightmare with Dillard's. That wasn't really a nightmare, but we had a kind of a nightmare with Dillard's because the building was so dirty, and when we cleaned it, you could see where it had been pressure washed in the past, and
Mhm.
you know the pressure washing had damaged the surface, and you know left wand marks all in the surface. And so, you know, we had to send pictures right away saying this is definitely not us, and showed them our process and all that. That we absolutely did not cause that damage. That was something we just uncovered. So that was a good thing to have all those before and after pictures, and the during pictures, and then showing that there's no way that we could cause that kind of damage because first of all, some of it was up there pretty high with the wand marks, and you know we weren't up that high. We were spraying literally from the ground. So
Mhm. Here's exactly what you're talking about at a Macy's. I'm not going to take the big trip down memory lane, but so here's your Macy's sidewalk going into it. Yeah, not much stuff there at all. But then whenever you go down to right in front of that was a Talbot's. So look at the door right in front of the Macy's, and that's just a little 8x8 area on there, and I can see about 25 pieces of gum, in that little area right there. So just kind of
go back to that picture.
that one.
Yeah, I was looking at the reflection there, seeing some fat man. I just wasn't sure who that was.
That was me. Man,
If your friends can't pick on you, who can?
That's how bad that Macy's was beforehand. I mean, it was absolutely awful. That's not a fast food place either, but just the gum thing made me think. Yeah.
I don't want to tell you. The funny part is that picture, the window squatted you down and widened you out. You know.
Now, well, the good news is after retiring, I really have squatted down and widened out. So, oh, cool! I've done that a few times. The more, I mean, the best thing for people in Tallahassee ever was like me selling my company. Yeah, for some reason that area at Talbot's gets incredibly nasty. That's a gross. Yeah, Dollar General. What's that? Dollar General and Dillard's have the most gum. I would agree with that. You Rusty, what's happening, man?
Bars have a lot of gum out front.
Mm-hmm. I can always tell. I could, you can actually drop me off at a gas station, blindfold me, drop me off at a gas station, and I can tell you, is it a good area of town, a bad area of town, or is it a college area of town? If I just look at the gas station, look at the amount of gum right there. It's kind of crazy. The quality of the people that go to an area is directly proportionate to the amount of gum that's on the sidewalks.
Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely.
Mr. Rusty's finally in the house.
About time, Rusty. We waited on you. Oh man.
We held up in awkward silence for a long time, just waiting for you.
Exactly. Oh. Doug, any exciting plans this week?
Just continuing on the big project that I'm on with the house that I'm working on. So that's my exciting stuff.
I'm just saying, you guys finally got some dang work in this town whenever I sold my company. I'm proud of you guys.
Yeah. The hot tub time machine.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, I know it. It's been a week already, and it's Monday.
Yes, it was.
Ugh.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Oh, excuse me. Don't mean to yawn at y'all.
The square body ray. Oh, the judging of gum. I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about business. But no, that's right though. I mean, it's. I used to have a joke with Tanya. I was like, if we ever get really slow at spray wash, we need to go put out cans of spray paint next to utility boxes and go pass out free gum at the mall. Amazing, because they would absolutely, and the malls used to get a lot more traffic. I mean, I think malls are pretty dead now. Is now the time to buy with all the deals being offered? I don't know. I mean, are we talking about sale deals? Or are we talking about, lightly used equipment deals?
Ray, hey, Ray, hey, dude, say yes. It's always a good.
Yes, it's always time to buy. I forgot, guys.
Tallahassee. That's your cue.
I don't know. I mean, depending on what you're buying. Jose, what's happening, man?
You just missed it, Jose. We were talking about that.
Jose, I think whatever works out profitably for you. Somebody here was mentioning about, a piece charged by the piece. Foot. I think that's tough. Square footage. I mean, I think, you almost need to go and heavily spotted. That's a hard call because, I mean, not all concrete is the same. We were just looking at some pictures of really, really heavy gum versus not heavy gum at the entrance of a mall.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, but also the surface that the gum is sitting on.
Mm-hmm. And, I'm glad Stephen brought this up because remember, everything you don't spend this next month, you're going to pay taxes on if you're running, your business legit. So with that being said, it's a great time to spend money.
Mm-hmm. Best time is before December 31st.
That is right. We had a fairly substantial. Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, 50 cents a piece.
Yeah, that's very good. Love it. Hey, if you can get it, get it.
Yeah, if you can get it. I mean, that must have been a nice payday because typically, even in front of hospitals, there's generally a lot of gum.
Yeah, there is. And in the emergency room areas too,
right.
A lot where people are coming out there. And actually, there's a lot in the smoking areas. If you still have a hospital with smoking areas, because people are in there chewing gum whenever they can't smoke, and then they come out there and then chain smoke. So, we obviously had a pretty hefty tax bill to pay this past year with the sale of the business. If you ever find yourself, and this is not tax advice to anybody, I'm not qualified to make tax advice, but Tanya and I wanted to tithe to our church based on the sale of the business. And we would have done this regardless of the tax consequences to us. But we wound up, our CPA let us know that wound up putting us into a different bracket that we were able to itemize deductions and not take the standard deduction anymore whenever we made that tithe to our church. And it really helped us out on our taxes. I mean,
that's why a good CPA is worth their weight in gold. I mean, they really can help you out in a lot of different areas. I remember mine when she was like, you know what, if you had filed this way, like I told you last year, I would have saved you 15 grand this year. And, those were real numbers. And when I heard that, I'm like, 15 grand, holy crap, and, so definitely paid for herself, over several years, kind of thing.
That is some real good information to have out there. So, but spend money before the end of the year. If you sit around there and go, well, damn, I seriously do have some extra money, and I've never actually had extra money, but if you feel like you've got extra money, no.
He's right.
God really did help me with the taxes, but I mean, it was an amazing side benefit of the taxes there. So, well, maybe you need to tithe more. So,
Yeah,
there you go. But it shocked me because we've always tithed, but we're suddenly hit with a very large sum of money there from the sale, so we were able to bless some other people with that. But keep records of what. Oh, and this goes back. I mean, we're not really talking about this tonight, but run your dang business like a business.
We are talking about that tonight. We're talking about that every night, even though we're not
True.
saying it.
That is true. Oh my God, that's funny. It's even funnier because I just found this in my photos. Let me find it again. It's one of those just amazing memes that I saw and I had to keep. Hold on. Where's it at? There.
Can't find it.
Oh, there it is.
Tic-tac-toe, baby. Okay.
Oh.
The direction we head sometimes, I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. It would be a good time to buy another truck.
Have prices come down on them at all?
I think they started off putting out some new trucks. So I had heard that prices were going down, but then they went back up again for some unknown reason. I don't know where they're at now, but I think they're still high.
They with you. Now where was I at today? Gov Deals, and it's someplace within 60.
Did you sell that Harley yet?
No, not yet. I got a couple people that are interested. I'm so ambivalent about selling it, but
spring is coming. You'll get rid of it.
If anybody needs a truck, let's do this real quick on here. Let me see if I can do
I try
this.
to stay off of there because the next thing I know, I'm buying stuff.
Let me see if I can do this without, get logged in without sharing my password with the world on here, so people don't go and buy things under my account, because I get to see you guys going and doing that. Search.
I only did it a couple of times, Ray.
Let's see here. State, province, Florida.
And this is govdeals.com.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's not government, because it's .com instead of .gov.
Yep. 32308. Submit. It might have been. Let's see here.
I gotta go to Anaheim in 2 weeks, just so you know.
Anaheim, really?
Yep. So you'll be on your own again.
Damn, you're just a traveling man lately. So this is in Valdosta, Georgia. 2000 F350. That's a bucket truck. 2 days left. Right now it's at $4,400. 76,000 miles on there. F350 gas 5.4 with a boom on there.
That's a good price.
That is, yeah. If it holds close to that, that's a
Is it run and drive?
What's that? Yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh, bless you. Here's one. 2000 Ford 350 Super Duty, $1,900 dollars at this point. It's got some, yeah, it's got a napide service body. It's got a compressor in the back of it. She may not be the prettiest thing, but you know, I can't tell you how many of these things I had. I painted the bumpers. I wrapped it. It looked like just it was an amazing service truck. This has 2 days, 18 hours left. It's at $1,950. 2000 Ford F350 chassis and cab, gas, 6.8 liter V10. That's a beast of an engine. Starts and runs, serviced every 3,000 miles. I go and look at these, you know, every now and then, and this one just impressed me with some great little trucks available right now.
Hey, Ray, not to interrupt, but so we don't miss it, Nicholas was asking, did you get an answer about that weird?
Yes, I did. It was a for asphalt sealing. So I don't think if anybody around, and that was somewhere within 60, 70 miles of Tallahassee, but it was an asphalt sealing truck and looked like it had about 1,000-gallon tank on it. I was thinking of buying it, making it a rental for, making it a rental for a water tank.
Yeah, wherever you need.
But I don't know if you could ever get
all the oil out,
asphalt out of that thing. Here's a 2003 GMC Sierra, $901.
Ray, for $20 an hour, I'll come pressure wash the inside of it.
Truck starts with a boost and runs 130,000 miles. I mean, it's only a 4.8, but that's a great little truck. If it sticks somewhere, you know, around that. Hell, if it goes triple that price, it's still a good little vehicle right there because it starts and runs. Wrap that up, make it a sales truck. Because I mean, that year, you know, 1,500 was out for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Just really a great vehicle there. Yeah. So Gov Deals. Always has something out there you can spend money on. What does Tallahassee have? Police equipment, lateral files. Oh, nothing exciting there.
What's horrible is when you're flipping through these, you know, like the police auction sites, and then you find your own picture on it.
2003 Explorer. Here is, a sweeper truck.
Ooh. It's a big one.
Yeah, it is. Runs and drivable. Tilt, repairs needed inside hopper. Metalwork needs to be replaced. Huh. Interesting. 20,000. That is a big one. So anyhow, yeah, I love the Gov Deals. Through the years, I bought so many trucks, our old service. In fact, every truck that we ever bought was from Gov Deals except for the flatbeds.
I used to buy a lot of my vehicles through auctions, not necessarily Gov Deals, but just auctions, period.
Mm-hmm.
That and furnishings and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Georgia Department of Transportation. This, I think, is where that one of those trailers were, that ceiling trailer. I know it was a DOT. Here's some of these DOT trucks that are. This is Tifton, Georgia. Absolute, you know, beast of these 350 Super Duties on there. Wrap it, give it a paint job. This is how long left? 1 day, 23 hours left. $1,675. It's a diesel, 7.3 diesel. And that would have been before the diesels turned to crap. And yes, you're right, Stephen. And it is. You're exactly right. They can't get trucks anymore, so the auctions died off. The auctions just died off for years and years on those things. Plow, if anybody wants
to plow, that's what we need here.
Yeah, so we need to open up a snow plowing service here in Tallahassee, Florida. I can be the
you know what? I'm betting, Ray, you'll be the only one.
I probably would be.
Yeah.
Five by 8 utility trailer. Woo! Hey, that's a new pressure washer.
Yeah,
right there.
To go with your wood skid.
Ford 800. That's a lot of truck right there.
It is.
Nobody needs that much truck for what we do. Anyway, so hey, there's some stuff out there in
Louisiana.
Yeah, well, just around. This is all North Florida, South Georgia, but again, we went for years and years and did that, and it's amazing how much those things will clean up with as long as it's a semi-current body style, which is getting tougher and tougher on those older trucks. But a semi-current body style, and you can do well with it. You can do well with those things. You're going to put a wrap on them anyway, give them a paint job and call it a new truck. And it's a different business model. We always prefer doing that than going into debt to $500-700 a month in payments on vehicles. Mm-hmm. And I guess nowadays that would probably be $700 to $1,000 a month payment on vehicles. Mm-hmm. You say the snow plowing. So Bo just said he made a ton. He was in Maryland or is in Maryland, and they have plowing up there. So it doesn't snow a lot where he's at, or Delaware, should I say. But so whenever he does plow, though, he makes a bundle because he's got these existing contracts that get renewed every year after year, and they typically never need his services. But if it ever triggers over 2 inches, he's doing really, really well.
Yeah. If I were up in an area where it snowed, I would get into plowing. I mean, you got time on your hands typically during the winter anyhow.
Yeah.
So why not? Why not sell you some plowing contracts?
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. Whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm. All right, Doug. I am taking my butt home and going to bed. I'm still at the store.
I'm a tired puppy.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate y'all for watching us again, and I'm ready for some rest.
I'm gonna be like the guy from Snow Day, the movie. Yep. Well, thank you all for wasting another hour and 20 minutes of your time. Appreciate it. Hope this was somewhat helpful on some fast food restaurants. And thank you, Brent. Appreciate it. So you don't have to have hot water. It sure does help if you want to do a lot of them. Charge well. Oh, you know what, Doug? Something else too. Sometimes you want to look at doing like a blended rate on this because, let's say that instead of making something really confusing for someone, and they've got one McDonald's that's got a double drive-through, one McDonald's got a single drive-through, and one that has a triple drive-through. I would rather give them a blended rate of, okay, let's do it for $450 a piece on a monthly basis rather than go, hey, here's a separate price for this, a separate price for this, and a separate price for that. I think it makes it less confusing. Something else I want to point out if you ever have anybody that comes up to you and says, "Hey, we want you to do this. We want you to do this quarterly or monthly. Go ahead and just give us your best price." Give them an initial cleaning. If you're going to really give them a deep discount, charge them up for the first cleaning on there, because that way, if they're just trying to basically jerk you off and say, "Oh no, I'm going to give you a ton of work," but they need some cleaned up, then you're still going to get paid like you really and truly cleaned it, and not just giving them the low rate, flipping your dress up over your head, and they leave you the next day.
That's why I said earlier, if it's that's one of those areas where I would have a contract where, if they're saying, okay, we want a lowball price, but we want you to do it quarterly for the next 3 years. Great. That you put a contract for, because the initial cleaning, you're going to lose money on.
Yep.
It's the cleanings after that you make your money on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right.
Good night, all.
Good night. See y'all.
Peace.